When two stories collide. I'm going to give a background of what I'm getting ready to read before I read it. This is going to be a time when King David was running from his own son, Absalom. Absalom was trying to take over and be king instead of his father, David. And David didn't want any more bloodshed because he had already lost a son because Absalom killed that son. So Absalom killed his brother. And David was just trying not to have any more bloodshed in his family. So he took his family and he left the kingdom. And we're going to pick up in 2 Samuel chapter 16, verses 1 to 4. And so David took his family, and took his men, and he was leaving his own territory because of his son Absalom. It says, when David had gone a short distance beyond the summit, there was Ziba, the steward of Mephibosheth. Let me back up and tell you who Mephibosheth is. Mephibosheth is actually the grandson of King Saul, and he is the son of Jonathan, who was David's best friend. They were really close, and they made a pact and promised each other that they would always do well by each other. And this is who Mephibosheth is. So he was in David's area, and he ate at the king's table every day. But it says, when David had gone a short distance beyond the summit, there was Ziba, the steward of Mephibosheth, waiting to meet him. He had a string of donkeys saddled and loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 100 cakes of raisins, 100 cakes of figs, and a skin of wine. The king asked Ziba, "Why have you brought these?" Ziba answered, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and fruit are for the men to eat, and the wine is to refresh those who become exhausted in the wilderness." The king then asked, "Where is your master's grandson?" Ziba said to him, "He is staying in Jerusalem because he thinks, today the Israelites will restore to me my grandfather's kingdom." Then the king said to Ziba, "All that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours." "I humbly bow," Ziba said. "May I find favor in your eyes, my lord the king." So that's one story of what happened to Mephibosheth. Now I'm going to pick up and read in 2 Samuel chapter 19, and it will be verses 24 to 30. And this is going to be when actually David is returning to his kingdom, because war did break out and his son Absalom, his son, died. So David was returning back to the land. Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, also went down to meet the king. He had not taken care of his feet or trimmed his mustache or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safely. When he came from Jerusalem to meet the king asked him, "Why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth?" He said, "My lord the king, since I, your servant, am lame, I said, I will have my donkey saddled, and will ride on it, so I can go with the king. But Ziba, my servant, betrayed me, and he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. My lord the king is like an angel of God, so do whatever you wish. All my grandfather's descendants deserved nothing but death from my lord the king, but you gave your servant a place among those who eat at your table. So what right do I have to make any more appeals to the king?" The king said to him, "Why say more? I order you and Ziba to divide the land." Mephibosheth said to the king, "Let him take everything, now that my lord the king has returned home safely." So these two stories collided. David hears two different stories about why Mephibosheth had not come with him. I believe the second story is true based on Mephibosheth's response in verse 30, where he tells David to just allow Ziba to have everything since the king made it home safely. Sometimes in life, we don't know what the true story is. You hear one story and you hear another story, and you're not necessarily able to make out what the truth is in that instance. But always learn and try to just look at the situation and look at people's actions, because actions do speak louder than words. And based on this story right here, it was the second story to me that was the true story, not the first one that Ziba told, but the second one. My encouraging scripture is going to be in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 20. Deceit is in the hearts of those who plot evil, but those who promote peace have joy.